Hey guys, what's going on? And thanks for tuning into Legatum Gaming. So, it is another week, which means another vendor reset video. So, like most of you guys will know, what I normally do is I check out all of the safe houses in both the open world and in the dark zone. Same with the checkpoints, and I kind of like filter out what I think is the best weapons, gear, and mods to bring you guys for each week. To make things a little easier, if you check the description below, I will put everything that's applicable for you guys in timestamps just to make it a little easier. Alright, so let's make a start. Alright, so the advanced weaponry vendor, and what a start we have. Actually 304 items in here, which are really good. So let's start off with the first wave vector. So it has a 21% critical hit chance with dominant, unforgiving in the middle, and adept at the bottom. Now most people know that I'm a big fan of having adept at the bottom, which is really good. Due to the nature of the requirements for electronics in this, having this at the bottom is really good. However, this is a good weapon. However, certainly not the best I've seen. So just be careful if you are going to get this. Just for the sheer fact, I would keep Unforgiving as the middle talent because it's a really good talent. However, be careful because stamina is 4,790 as the requirement. My recommendation is to take out Dominant, although it's a pretty decent skill for PvE, excuse me. I would take out Dominant and maybe put in something to kind of like work with your build a little better, whether that's Deadly or Brutal or whatever you want it to be. I think with the nature of maybe some of these requirements, having Competent at the top would be a nice one. However, one just to check out for you guys. We then move on to the Covert SRS. Now, this is really good. Headshot damage 170% with proficient, capable, and deadly. So again here my recommendation would be to take out capable and putting in something which kind of like suits your build. Again, I would suggest maybe prepared, which is extra damage if you're more than kind of like 30 meters from the target, or alternatively brutal, which I think most people will agree with. Brutal is probably the main one to put in here. However, actually a really good sniper rifle, and considering some of the changes they're making in 1.7, this might be actually quite a viable sniper rifle. So certainly one to check out, I think, and especially with 170% headshot damage, you don't see that too often. We then go on to the MG5, which, although it's not the best, so, you know, let's just get that out there. You know, this is not the best roll that I've seen, so if you, like, are really struggling for a light machine gun, then this is pretty reasonable. Now, do bear in mind, you know, check out in the description, because this is the first stop of the night, or day, whichever time or day you're watching this at. So, it has Vicious, Unforgiving, and Accurate. In no particular order. Now, Unforgiving is in the third slot, which is the perfect role sort of here, or the perfect talent out of the three to have in the bottom slot. Now, Vicious in the middle, and then Accurate up top. So, you know, the requirements may be slightly high, with Vicious requiring almost 4,800 stamina, so do be careful of that. However, Accurate, I mean, you could keep that, to be fair, because the LMGs do have pretty sucky Accurate, so accuracy even, so yeah, you guys could watch that. So just take your pick in terms of what sort of talent you want to replace this with. It's entirely up to you guys. Sort of deadly, brutal, fierce, whatever you want. And then last but not least is actually an extended magazine. Now again, you know, last week there was a couple of 121 or 22% magazine sizes, I believe. Critical hit chance being 3 on those. So there is better ones than this. However, if you're after a pretty reasonable magazine for the time being, this is really good. So 118% magazine size, 2.5% critical hit chance, and then 5.10 rate of fire. So actually a really good start, guys. Let's check out the rest. Okay, at the special equipment vendor this week, there is a couple of items I want to show you. So, like I always say, just be careful when you buy from here, just for the sheer fact that the credits are actually quite hard to come by. Unless you grind sort of like legendary missions, etc., they're pretty hard to come by. And also quite expensive when you buy things from here. So, just be careful. If you do need something, then by all means, please do get that. However, just be careful as gear does drop quite frequently. Okay, so we're going to make a start. 2 items, the first one being Striker's Gloves. Now, the Firearms is 1164, which does suck, so hold out for that. And the majors being 7% enemy armor damage, 14% critical hit damage, and 7% skill haste. Now, the armor on this is 975, so really nice roll on this. Although it's not GODROLL, you could get your critical hit damage a little higher, and your skill haste could be a couple percent higher. They're actually not bad at all. My recommendation here would be to roll out Firearms, or increase it, shall I say, and kind of get it towards the sort of 1270 mark. So, although we don't have a date release for 1.7, it can't be too far off, so maybe a month or something. So certainly if you're after some striker gloves for the time being, I would certainly recommend these. In addition, we have a really nice prototype performance mod, 264 firearms with 3% skill haste. So definitely a couple of really good things to check out for this week. At the special blueprints vendor, they have the classic RPK-74 blueprint, the military M9, the electronics gloves blueprint, and the electronics knee pads. So it looks, just looking down on this right now, it looks like I might be missing one. So heavy magazine spring blueprint and the small laser pointer blueprint in addition to what I've just said. So these are kind of like the 6 on here. I might be missing one. So as I say each week, just be careful and actually check this out yourself, because if I do have a blueprint here, then you guys can't see that. And also same for me, I can't see that too because I already have it. So definitely, whatever you're watching, whatever you're reading for those special blueprints each week, just do check it out yourself. So these are the kind of like blueprints for this week. Nothing too major here. Definitely not as good as last week. That had a great SMG. So hopefully you guys picked that up. So these are the ones for this week. The Last Call Safe House has a police M4 with 19% enemy armor and damage, ferocious, fierce, and talented. Now, although initially you'd look at this would be a PvE weapon, and it would be ideally those running kind of like a hybrid build for the nature of the requirements of these skills. So, you could make this actually quite a nice PvE weapon. I would keep ferocious, I would keep fierce, and then in the 3rd slot, maybe putting it in adept would be really nice here. Although, this would only run with a real hybrid build, so just be careful and do check out the requirements before you buy this. It's not the best roll on this because it only has 19% enemy armor damage opposed to the 23%, which is the max. So, not far off. However, an extra 5% or 4% even, does make a difference. So, not a bad weapon, so definitely one to check out for this week. The Ward Safe House this week offers you a prototype performance mod in the name of a first aid self-heal. Now it's 5.5% and the max is 6. So although 6 would be ideal, I haven't actually seen a 6% first aid self-heal in a little while. So this is for those players who may be new or maybe needing an additional first aid self-heal mod. So if you are struggling to get kind of like 6, or you even want to hire one, or you haven't gotten any at the minute, then definitely head over to the Ward Safe House. They have some here for 5.5%. The Crypt Safe House has a Ti-Rant Suppressor with a 7% crit hit chance, 4.5% optimal range, and 6% headshot damage. So, this is a pretty nice suppressor. So for those people who are after one, this is a reasonable one. It's certainly not the best. You would class the best as, instead of optimal range, critical hit damage. However, optimal range is something which is kind of underrated and can come into use for you guys. So, if you are after one, then certainly head over here and pick this up. Alright, so we're now at the DZ checkpoint. So we've kind of done all these safe houses in the open world and at the base and the hub. So let's check out the Dark Zone. So let's make a start. West 34th this week offers you a prototype electronics mod. Now, the electronics is 258, and the major being 3% skill haste. So a pretty nice mod here. If you guys did want to increase your electronics whilst also increasing your skill haste, it's actually a really, really good mod to check out for this week. At West 39th DZ checkpoint, they have a really nice custom M870. So it has 294 stagger, which although doesn't make too much of a difference now with the stagger and going forward, it has commanding in the first slot, responsive in the second, and ferocious in the third. So this will be aimed at a PvE player. Just the sheer fact of Ferocious in the third slot, and it's actually quite a nice slot to have it in, just due to the nature of the talent requirements needed. So responsive is really, really good, and in the first slot, again, up to you. If you're running with or playing with PvE, you could run whatever you want here, depending on your type of build. Brutal, I like here. Just for the headshots, that's really nice. If you got good crit hit chance, then Deadly is good. However, you guys can literally have whatever you want. But definitely a really nice shotgun to check out for this week if you're a PvE focused player, or if you want a weapon that stimulates a PvE experience. At West 42nd this week, they have a pretty nice prototype electronics mod. Now, I did show you one a little earlier, which has high electronics with skill haste. Now this is high electronics again at 265 with health at 3,100. So for those people who want to spec into health more than they do skill haste, then definitely want to check out. I would recommend skill haste being the better mod to get. However, thought I would throw this in there because I know people do like to be a little tougher, a little tankier, and have a little more health. So don't miss out for this week, guys. West 53rd this week offers you a really nice prototype performance mod in the name of a 7% support station duration. Now, we're at the stage now where we're thinking of 1.7 and thinking of kind of like what will be viable for the specific builds. Although the PTS kind of updates sort of each week and they sort of nerf and buff different various builds, looking at the Reclaimer build that they have, having a support station, it looks really, really good. So definitely want to check out with a 7% support station duration. I do prefer personally support station healing speed opposed to the duration. However, for those kind of healers out there, I'm a big fan of you guys, so keep it going. Check out this prototype performance mod. Definitely a really good one. East 58th this week offers you some pretty nice Savage gloves. Now the Firearms is 1159, and it has 16% critical hit damage, 7.5% enemy armor damage, and at 963 SMG damage. Now my recommendation here, considering the Firearms is a little low, is to re-roll out Firearms and make it a lot stronger. So you can get it up to kind of like the 1270, 1271 mark. So if you do that, then obviously you would have to have an SMG to make this pretty much viable for your build. However, some really nice gloves. Now the armor is 916. So it's not the worst, however, not the best. So, you want to aim for kind of like high 900s, get it close to the 1,000 mark. So not the worst, not the best. However, if you're after some Savage gloves and you do run an SMG, these are really, really nice gloves for you guys if you don't have Savage already. Okay, Park Avenue checkpoint this week. I've had a couple of guys who watch these videos ask me where it is. So it's at the southern part of the DZ08 in the Dark Zone, so do check it out. For this week, I have an MP5 ST for you guys. So it has a 22% critical hit chance, and the 3 talents, which I will add, are primarily aimed at a hybrid electronics build. Now, although these are quite rare when you have PvE, they can come in handy quite often. So it has Determined, Skilled, and Dominant. So 3 really good talents already if you're running a hybrid. So killing a target reduces all skill cooldowns by 7.5%. Skilled is headshots, kills with this weapon increase signature skill resources by 5%, and dominant, every kill performed while your signature skill is active reduces the cooldown of all your other skills by 10%. So actually 3 really good talents already. So you know, depending if you actually want to change any of these, it's entirely up to you. Now, you know, the 3rd slot is free, however dominant is really good and does fit in quite nicely with these 3. So just be careful though before you kind of get these, in terms of the requirements are really high. So, you know, electronics, you need at least 4,790 to run this. So, you know, a hybrid and PvE would be really nice here. The 3rd slot, you could put in whatever you want. Or, you know, keep that and change some of the others. I can't really give you an answer here because there's a lot of variations you could do. You know, Ferocious is really nice if you're going to make it PvE. Adept also. That focuses on skill and increases your critical hit chance. So a lot of options for you guys. However, thought I would drop in this MP5. It is pretty good. However, just aimed at PvE. Okay, DZ5 Safe House offers you a heavy magazine spring. Now, although you wouldn't normally use these in kind of like forever, you know, I think in 1.7 they've changed it, or they're going to change it, where it makes it a little bit more viable to actually use this. So I think, for example, Lone Star, and I said last week, don't quote me on that. I actually haven't double checked. I'm pretty sure it's Lone Star, where you can just kind of like insta reload, and or even you don't even reload, you just keep shooting, hence you wouldn't need an extended mag. You know, they're making it so you can actually start using these heavy mags. So, you know, certainly don't rule this out. However, if you do want to experiment and use something different, there has been a few heavy magazines in this week's weekly vendor reset. However, this is probably the best one I've seen yet. Obviously, bearing in mind I still need to do safe houses in DZ6, 8, and 9, so do hold out. However, 4% critical hit damage, 5% reload speed, and 10% rate of fire. So, you know, these can be, and I think will be, a viable option in 1.7. So, wanted to make you guys aware of for this week. DZ08 Safe House offers you some really nice gear this week. So let's start off with the AlphaBridge chest, the armor 1980. So really good. If not, it could be pretty close to a GODROLL. I won't class it as one because maybe there isn't like ammo capacity on here, and it could be slightly better. However, really good. So stamina is the main role at 1129, 5% enemy armor damage, 5% health on kill, and then 24% increased kill XP. My recommendation, if it's AlphaBridge, I mean, you could go either way. You could go Firearms, would be the natural thing you do, and take off stamina, or if you're running kind of hybridy, then you could take, reroll to electronics. Now, it does have 5% enemy armor damage, which is really good. Health on kill, I mean, ideally, you'd probably want like maybe skill haste, or even maybe health here would be really nice. However, health on kill does come in handy. And then, of course, increased kill XP. Now, a lot of people don't class it as GODROLL because it has ammo capacity or doesn't have ammo capacity on it. Realistically, you know, how often is it anyone ever runs out of ammo? So, you know, you can kill NPCs and just pick up some ammo there. So, you know, you don't really need ammo capacity at all times. So, a really nice chest. We then move on to the the Tactician's Authority gloves. Now again, armor 936. So although not the best, certainly not the worst. If it's in the 900 or going towards the 1000 range, then you have a really nice pair of gloves. So let's make start. It has electronics as the main, which of course you want for Tactician gloves. Critical hit damage, enemy armor damage, and LMG damage. So, you know, there's two ways or two things that you could do here. You could increase your electronics on this and increase it over to like the 1200 mark, maybe 1270, or you could take out the LMG damage. Again, these aren't the best gloves because ideally you'd maybe want skill haste in here, so you could actually spec it out to get like max electronics. So you've got a choice. If you're running with LMG, you can increase your electronics. If you're not running with LMG, you could maybe put in skill haste here and go with the 1183. It's a tough choice, so it's entirely up to you guys. I can't actually give you the choice for this. Now, they do have striker knee pads, although the armor isn't too great on here. Not too bad. So if you guys are after striker knee pads, 8% critical hit damage is really good. And then the minor attributes are disorient resistance, disrupt, and blind and deaf. Again, not the best because, you know, you'd rather have maybe shock resistance in here for one of the minors. Critical hit damage, I do love that, so I would keep that. So recommendation is to increase firearms here. So, you know, 3 pieces of gear, which certainly I would look at. Alright guys, we're DZ9 Safe House, which is the last stop of the weekly vendor reset. Let's check it out. Okay, so there's actually 3 or 4 various different items, which can be quite good. The problem is I'm not going to show you because the armor is so bad, or alternatively, some of the rolls on it aren't great. You know, I'd like to show you this Banshee Shadow armor, but the armor on it is so bad. The Banshee Shadow Mask is okay, but you know, no one wants to keep with 12 firearms, and nobody wants to keep exotic damage resilience, so it's a tough choice to make. The Tactician's Authority pack, although the armor is pretty nice on it, you gotta make a tough choice between skill power and critical hit damage. You know, skill power is too low, or electronics, shall I say, is too low at 1184. So if you increase that, you're left with critical hit damage. So although you don't really want that on your Tactician's build, you know, you can. So for those people who are after a Tactician's pack, it's actually not too bad in terms of the armor is pretty decent on it. I would increase electronics, and then of course you're just gonna have to run with critical hit damage. So, you know, ideally skill haste would be nice here, but if you're really after one, then certainly check it out. However, what I do want to show you is this Firecrest holster. So really nice armor at 983, firearms 1206, stamina 1226, and electronics at 1147. Now, you know, it's not the best because ideally skill haste and a high electronics spec would be the perfect option here. However, I would recommend improving your electronics, maybe getting up to kind of like 1270 and then running with health. So, you know, skill haste you can get from other forms of your gear. So definitely a really nice holster to check out for this week. Okay, so we have one more place to go down, which is right here. Now, I did say this earlier, but they have a pretty nice heavy magazine spring. Now, you know, I did have a little commentary on this earlier in the video, which is all about talking about 1.7. And I'll say it again. So, you know, we've always been using extended mags ever since kind of like it came out. Like, it's not often anyone ever uses heavy magazine spring because you run out of ammo or you reload too quick, shall I say. Now, with 1.7, I believe it's Lone Star, where you don't have to reload. It just consistently shoots. And, you know, I've had people quote to me, it's like a tat link, pretty much 50% of the time you're playing. So that's very interesting. So if you're having that, or you're running that build, then why would you need an extended mag? So a heavy magazine spring is certainly one to think about for 1.7, that's for sure. And this is actually a really nice one to get. So 3% critical hit chance, 11.5% magazine size, and 10% rate of fire. So, you know, just think about it, guys. Going forward for 1.7, heavy magazine springs will be in. I guarantee you that. I'm going to tell you that first here. I guarantee they will be back in. Alright guys, so that does conclude this week's weekly vendor reset. Thank you all so much for watching. You know, it does take a little bit of time to make these videos for you guys, and I hope that they are informative and do help you either make your build a little better or give you a little idea in terms of what to look for or how to reroll your gear or weapons. Do drop a comment, hit a like, or alternatively subscribe for more Division content. You know, I do stream on a regular basis. I post weekly vendor resets and also a lot of build videos. Alright guys, thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.